So hi everyone, I'm Anne Lloyd and we're going to do a 45-minute practice together today. So the topic, I normally talk about the topic halfway through our session today, but I'm going to introduce it as we begin our practice, and the topic is on fear versus discomfort. So let's begin our first practice together, and we can just arrive and let go of our day, let go of our morning. So as always, you can be seated if you'd like to be seated, or lying down is perfectly fine, as long as you try and fall awake, not fall asleep. So just finding your comfortable position, seated or lying down, and closing your eyes if it's comfortable. And just turning your attention towards sensing your feet on the floor. So if you're seated, and is everyone on mute? Yes. Annie, peek. Annie, if you could go on mute, please. Thank you. So if you're seated, just bringing your awareness down to your feet on the floor. So sensing the soles of your feet on the floor. And if you're lying down, just having a sense of your feet in contact with whatever is beneath you. So perhaps sensing your ankles. And just by turning our attention towards the feet on the floor, it brings a sense of groundedness. So moving from the head down into the body, onto the earth, the floor beneath us. So sensing your big toe, your middle toe, your next toe, your middle toe, your fourth toe, your pinky toe. Sensing that gentle arch of each foot. The heel of each foot. And just feeling the weight of your feet on the floor beneath you. And now let's begin also, now that we are grounded and have a sense of our feet connected to the earth beneath us, to the breath. So we're going to do 3 really big inhales and exhales. So we're breathing in through our nose, and then we're exhaling through our mouth. So seeing if you can really breathe in, starting from the abdomen. So let's begin breathing in a really big inhale through the abdomen. And then breathing out through the mouth and just letting everything go as you sink further down into the body. Another giant big inhale, breathing in. And on your exhale, breathing out through the mouth and just imagining that the body begins to soften with that exhale. Every cell within the body begins to soften. And then breathing in, another giant big inhale, breathing in. So breathing in through the abdomen, up through the diaphragm and into the chest. And then really letting go. If you need to sigh, let it all out. Letting that air leave the body and sinking down further into the body, imagining that every cell begins to soften. And just allowing now the breath to settle where it does in the body and turning your attention towards the breath. And we often call this place our safe harbor, the safe harbor of the breath in the body. So as you turn your attention towards the breath, you're letting everything fade into the background. You're letting your day fade into the background. You're letting your morning fade into the background. You're letting all those jobs, all those things that you have to do, letting that fade into the background. And there is only this moment and you and the breath as you breathe in and as you breathe out. So if you've been doing this practice for a little while, you will know that it's about really sensing the breath rather than thinking about the breath. So we can sense the breath just by the gentle movement of the breath in the body. Perhaps noticing how the abdomen expands on the inhale and how the abdomen is released on the exhale. Maybe sensing the breath in the chest, the gentle rise and fall of the breath in the chest, maybe even sensing the gentle rise and fall of the shoulders with every inhale and exhale. So on every exhale, just imagining that you're letting everything go still. And you're dropping down further and further into the body with every exhale. And by now the mind has probably wandered away into thoughts. And if this is the case, just noticing what is present on the mind. And then always with kindness, bringing your attention back to resting on the breath once more. So as we settle into this practice, bringing awareness to the quality of the breath in this moment. How is the breath? Does it feel quite forced and labored now that you're turning your attention towards the breath? Can you only sense the breath in one area of the body? Maybe it's just the nostrils, or maybe it's just the chest, so it feels quite tight or short. Is the inhale longer than the exhale, or vice versa? So it is such a simple thing just to turn our attention towards the breath and allow everything else to dissolve in the background. Yet it is one of the hardest things to do. So if you find today that your mind is really, really active, just allowing that to be in this moment. So not fighting the busy mind, not trying to change it. But this practice is just noticing where the mind has gone to and then coming home to the breath. So I'm going to introduce, just for a few rounds, a box breathing practice where we breathe in for 4 and we pause the breath for 4, and then we exhale for 4, and then we pause for 4. And I find this really helpful just to settle into the practice of turning our attention towards the breath and bringing a bit of stillness to the busy mind. So let's begin. So breathing in for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pausing for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pausing for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pausing for 4, 3, 2, 1. And once more, breathing in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pausing and relaxing your shoulders for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pausing for 4, 3, 2, 1. And perhaps just doing 1 in your own time, in your own count. And when you pause, just ensuring that your body is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed, not holding on too tightly. And when you're finished the round, just bringing your attention back to resting on the breath. Noticing the gentle rise and fall of every inhale and every exhale. So breathing in, sensing the breath in the body. Perhaps noticing how the diaphragm moves down and pushes against the stomach on every inhale. The abdomen expands and then is released as the diaphragm moves back up. And as you sit here, just noticing if there's any tension or discomfort in the body. Maybe the forehead is tight or tense. Maybe the thighs, perhaps the shoulders. So any part of the body that calls your attention, just imagining that you're taking your breath there and just exploring it. So quite often we hold tension in the forehead, and just by taking our breath there and our awareness, our forehead begins to soften and smooth out a little. Another area is the jaw. And if we hold stress, especially in our sleep, we can grate our teeth. So maybe the neck or the shoulders. Sometimes the lower back. Sometimes we even hold tension in our thighs without even noticing. So if you need to, just doing a little skirt around the body, noticing if there's any place that calls your attention, any place that feels tight or restricted. And when you're complete, just coming back to resting on the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. And as we come to close our first practice together, just bringing your awareness back down to your feet once more, that place where we began this first practice. And sensing the weight of the feet against the floor, or the weight of your ankles if you're lying down. And now moving your awareness, your attention to the spine, from the coccyx to the vertebrae. And just sensing the spine as a whole as you sit or lie here. And then moving your attention around to the forehead. And now gently resting your attention on your hands in your lap. And in your own time, releasing this practice and opening your eyes. And of course, there's always the option, just in this short little talk, of keeping your eyes shut if that feels better for you. So you can keep this meditative state going if you like. So if that feels comfortable for you as well. So as I mentioned, the topic today is fear. And the reason why I wanted to bring up this topic is last week we spoke about resistance and how resistance can get in the way between us and creating something that is meaningful or something that we want to create in our life. And fear is often one thing that is bandied around as an obstacle or resistance. And I just want to bring a little bit of perspective to fear, because I often think that fear is a blanket term that's used often to describe what gets in the way of us creating something. Oh, it's just fear. And fear is all well and good because it really helps us to survive as a species. If we didn't have fear, then we would probably walk out in front of a car or jump off a cliff. And it goes back to the old saber-toothed tigers. So is it going to eat us, or are we going to eat it? So fear is really relevant, and it's an important part of our survival. But our brain can't distinguish between a real fear or threat or a perceived fear or threat. So, so fear is a good thing, and I'm not discounting that fear is a bad thing at all. I'm just wanting to bring perspective, because quite often it's not about fear. It's really about something else standing in the way. So, you know, if you don't like being visible in your work, and, you know, if you're an artist or you're doing something very creative, sometimes it's quite daunting putting your work out so that everybody can judge it. Is that really fear? So my question to you is to really ask yourself, you know, am I really a fearful person? Is it really fear? Or is it discomfort? Discomfort of being seen, even though as an artist, I know I have to get my work out and there's potential that it could be judged. Is that really fear? So it's a good question to ask ourselves. And I've got a question or two questions, and just to see what you relate to, you know. And my first question is, if you weren't afraid, what would you do? Now, there may be something in your life that you are deeply fearful about, and I'm not discounting that. So this may speak to you. If you weren't afraid, what would you do? And then the other question is, if you didn't care, what would you do? So if you didn't care that there was discomfort, if you didn't care that your work may be judged, what would you do? And in this practice, what we're doing is we're just building awareness, aren't we? So awareness is always key. But sometimes also it's about asking ourselves the right question and not just blanketing a resistance as you being fearful about something, because fearful is it's quite disempowering. And there are moments when fear is really relevant, and you may be experiencing fear, like, you know, when you get up in front of 500 people and have to do a speech. So it's just noticing, is this a moment when I'm experiencing real fear, or is there something else? Is there some other form of resistance that's getting in the way between me and what I want to do or who I want to be? So I just want to leave that with you. And we're going to weave this topic into our next practice together. So making sure that you're comfortable for our second practice. If you need to move around, shrug your shoulders, move your neck, making sure you're comfortable, and lowering your gaze if that feels good for you, or just closing your eyes. And always in this practice, it's always making sure that you look after you. So if any time you feel discomfort, or perhaps not even feeling safe, you can finish this practice, you can do something about it. You're in charge. So let's begin again by sensing our feet on the floor, feeling that connection to the earth beneath our feet. So sensing all your toes, the heel of each foot, the gentle arch. And just feeling that support of the floor, whether it's your entire foot or if it's just the heels as you're lying down. And given there's such beautiful bird song, you may hear it through my microphone today, but given there's such beautiful sounds of spring all around us, let's turn our attention in this moment towards sounds. So we're opening up to the soundscape all around us, hearing not just with our ears, but with our entire body. So it's a bit like a child in a state of wonder or innocence is hearing something for the first time. So not trying to make sense of each sound and figure it out, just allowing sounds to be as they are. And perhaps noticing when one sound is quite dominant, that's where you place your focus. But just opening up to the soundscape all around you from near and from afar. There's sounds within sounds. Noticing how sounds can be like thoughts. Some float in and float out. Others float in and stay a while and join another and then another. So noticing sounds within us as well as sounds all around us. So bringing awareness to the quality of each sound, the tone, the pitch, the loudness. So just allowing sounds to be center stage of your awareness and everything else fades into the background. Bathing in this soundscape. And now letting sounds, your awareness of sounds, gently fade into the background. And bringing your attention now to resting on the breath. So seeing if you can stay with a full inhalation. So staying with that inhalation from the beginning, the middle, and the end. And then seeing if you can stay with an exhalation from the beginning, the middle, and the end. So you're doing an entire full round of breathing. You know, and in times when we experience real fear, you may notice that the breath really changes. So the breath becomes very concentrated, typically in the heart and the chest area. And the body prepares by sending blood to all the extremities for a quick getaway. And yet when we're lovely and relaxed, the breath is a lot longer and smoother. But quite often during the day, we're not breathing properly. We're not utilizing the full resource of the breath. So as you rest here with the breath, your focus of attention is on every inhale and every exhale. So sensing rather than thinking about the breath. Just noticing what arises in this moment. If I were to ask the question, if you weren't afraid, what would you do? And I can word it the other way. What would you do if you weren't afraid? And just see what bubbles up, if anything. Maybe who would you be if you weren't afraid? And this is not about chasing an answer. It's just allowing an answer to appear if it does. And if it doesn't, that's okay. And then the next question, what would you do if you just didn't care? So if there was no feeling of discomfort, no focus of what other people think or their judgments. So what would you do if you just didn't care? And this can also be about being who you are, because quite often we can hold the full sense of ourselves back in case of judgment from others. And just allowing that answer come. Who would you be, or what would you do if you just didn't care? And now just allowing your attention of focus to rest on the breath once more. Coming home again to that safe harbour of the breath in the body. Every exhale is a sense of letting go. So maybe if there's any fear that you have experienced through this question, imagining that that is being let go of. So you're letting it go with the exhale. So anytime the mind wanders off the breath into thoughts, or if you can hear this beautiful bird song around me, so just noticing where the mind has gone to, and then bringing your attention back to resting on the breath as you begin an inhale. So opening up to curiosity now of the quality of the breath. Noticing if there is a change from when we first began our practice. Maybe not. Maybe you sense it's just the same, but perhaps you've noticed a difference. So it's not about wanting it to be any different or trying to make it any different. It's just bringing a quality of awareness, of noticing, of being curious. Is there a difference to the quality of the breath from when you first began this practice? So observing every inhale and exhale, Noticing if there's a sense of spaciousness between you and each breath. And as we come to close out this practice now, imagining that you're extending the breath throughout the entire body. So extending that breath, and funny, isn't it? This is life, telephone in the background that I'd forgot to turn off. So just allowing that to be as it is, because this is life. Nothing is perfect. And we can't change often the external. Yes, I could have turned the phone off, but quite often we have no control over the external. So just allowing that to be as it is. So just extending that breath and imagining that you're breathing in through the soles of the feet, through the body, then out through the crown of the head. And then breathing in through the crown of the head, through the body, and out through the soles of the feet into the earth. And breathing in through the soles of the feet, through the legs, through the body, and out through the crown of the head. And breathing in through the crown of the head, through the body, and out through the soles of your feet. And just giving yourself a bit of a pat on the back for taking this time just for you, this moment of stillness. And gently releasing this practice and opening your eyes.